young preacher, fan of the show, science denier, and believer that citizens should be executed for the heinous crime of two people loving each other in a consensual relationship? Really? Yikes. Matt Powell has a few novel ideas about what evolution teaches. Let's take a look. Really?
Squids and octopuses have a different genetic build than any other creature in the world. So scientists have come to the conclusion that they couldn't have come from any other sea creature.
Well, let's start at the beginning. Cephalopods, or cephalopod if you're the snooty Oxford-educated professor that had a penchant for inappropriate relationships with his students that my science advisor had to deal with.
According to Oxford University, it means that my 20 years loyal service there means nothing next to a little slip-up with a co-ed.
Yeah, but that's fiction. This one got away with it for years. Damn, real life sucks sometimes. Anyway, organisms like squids and octopuses are amazing and in many ways are unique. But being unique doesn't mean they didn't evolve. Simply their lineage is vastly separated from other modern organisms. But, as we understand it, cephalopods are members of the mollusk family, so they share ancestors with nautiloids, cuttlefish, and even modern-day snails.
So here's what evolutionary theory states about how they got here. Evolution says, or evolutionists claim, it says one plausible explanation, in our view, is that the genes are likely new extraterrestrial imports to Earth. These scientists declare that, quote, the squid eggs hitched a ride to Earth on the back of asteroids.
This seems to be from an article published a few years ago regarding the panspermia hypothesis, and Matt here thinks that everyone who accepts evolution must therefore accept it as well. Matt, did you notice the words you said? One plausible explanation means it's not the only explanation. Is it possible that some forms of life came from extraterrestrial origins? Sure. Should we accept that's exactly what happened? No, because there's no evidence for it.
That is what evolution teaches, folks. I am not kidding. I was in an interview with a friend of mine he's an actual creation scientist.
Just a slight side note, a creation scientist is an oxymoron. Scientists, real scientists, will start off with a hypothesis about the world and attempt to explain it using observable facts and evidence. Creation scientists attribute things like the, creation of the universe and the diversity of biological life to an intelligent creator being, something that has no evidence backing it up. This is why when papers are submitted for publication that do claim the existence of unproven explanations, such as an intelligent creator being, the papers are either dismissed or pulled. Even the paper that suggested the extraterrestrial origin as responsible for the diversity of life cited asteroids and comets, which we know do exist.
Now, him and I don't see eye to eye on everything, but he brought this up and I thought he was joking with me. I said, are you serious? We cut for a moment. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. This is what they teach? He said, yeah, it's what they teach. I looked it up. Sure enough, evolution teaches that they hitched a ride on the back of asteroids.
Matt here doesn't seem to know where these conclusions are drawn from. Most recent claims like this come from a 2018 paper, Cause of the Cambrian Explosion, Terrestrial or Cosmic. Yes, it does posit that the Cambrian explosion, including diverse organisms such as cephalopods, were the result of extraterrestrial origin. Basically, that single-celled creatures, or even eggs, were somehow brought to Earth as an explanation for the diversity of life. This paper was a collection of hypotheses that was roundly denounced by most evolutionary theorists on the lack of reliable evidence for their claims. So, Matt, your claim that evolution actually teaches this? No, it's not something that biologists have to accept if they accept evolution.
You're damn right we don't need to accept things like panspermia or any other wild hunches that don't have evidence behind them.
Thanks, baby. There are much more rational explanations for the sudden appearance of biodiversity in the fossil record over the tens of millions of years of the Cambrian explosion. For instance, the evolution of hard bodies at the time. Soft bodies are notoriously hard to fossilize, which would account for the, let's say, less than abundant fossil record before the Cambrian era and the more robust finds afterwards. Also, a change in the environment due to the increase in oxygen levels in the oceans could have spurred this rapid biodiversity.
Doesn't that sound fun? And they don't get along anyways. Squids and octopuses are constantly fighting each other, so I don't know how they made it here to begin with. But of course they were eggs and...
Okay, if you know the answer to your own objection in the first place, why even bring it up? Squids would fight with octopi? Octopods? Octopuses? Okay, I'll give them that one. Credit where it's due. But if the paper claims our ancestors would have come as eggs, then why even bring up they would fight in space? Also, mapping of the genome shows that octopuses and squids separated only 135 million years ago, millions of years after the Cambrian explosion. So, even if they weren't eggs on this cosmic voyage, which, again I note, virtually no scientists actually accept happened, they would have been separate species at the time to fight like kids on a long car trip that you're insinuating.
And the article goes on to say that they were fertilized. They don't know how, but they were fertilized so that they could hatch when they hit the water.
So, Matt, what's your point? Let's say this paper is correct. How does it disprove anything about evolution? Even if some species came from an extraterrestrial origin, and as cool as that would be, there's no evidence for it, how does that in any way disprove the observed fact that mutations happen between generations in biological organisms and the tautology that those that are better adapted to survive and breed will be more likely to survive and breed? All I know for sure is that cephalopods like octopuses and squids are amazing and fascinating creatures, unique in many senses, and the basis for one of my wife's favorite sex toys. As a side note, anybody who listened to my recent interview with Neil, the 604 Atheist, in his Deconversion Stories series, might remember how I don't currently have an interest in actually profiting from these videos. It's just a hobby I have. That being said, if the good people at Bad Dragon would like me to tout their excellent products, I am more than willing to whore myself out to them for some free samples.
Ooh, be sure to ask for a Votan.
Will do.
Evolutionists also claim that monkeys, because monkeys had to have somehow gotten to South America from Africa. That's what evolutionary theory states, and they have a problem figuring out how. So their best conclusion that their best scientists have come up with is this idea that monkeys surfed across the ocean, across the ocean to a land anew over in South America. Now that has a lot of problems. There's tides out there. You know, they probably get blown off their surf. Who has ever seen a monkey surf? I don't even think they can.
Wow, lots to unpack in this one as well. To start with, nobody is claiming, as you seem to imply, that monkeys waxed up their surfboards and rode them across the Atlantic. It's believed that monkeys came to South America from Africa because the oldest New World monkey fossils are teeth which were found in South America from about 40 million years ago, which appear quite similar to Old World monkey teeth from the same time. These monkeys would not have ridden surfboards, although that would have been awesome. Look at them go! Rather, the assumption is they rode on vegetation rafts, which are not without precedence. This vegetation island was seen again about 1,600 kilometers away, which meant that it survived the ocean for quite a long distance. Trees, like the one mentioned here, would act as a very crude sail, helping push the island across vast distances. And remember that several million years ago, the coasts of Africa and South America were much closer than they are now. That would make it possible for such an unpowered trip. It's estimated that it would take about a fortnight to move a floating island from Africa to South America with the continents where they were at the time. Floating islands like this have been shown to move organisms to new biomes in the past. So, it's not unreasonable to assume this is how Old World monkeys arrived in South America before diverging genetically. Now, there are other possibilities. The original monkeys could have come from Asia across a land bridge that brought the First Nations people, then migrated down and somehow not left any evidence of this journey whatsoever, nor mutated much during the migration to South America. I've said in the past that not everything gets fossilized, but the complete lack of evidence makes this seem unreasonable. The fact that evidence shows that the earliest South American monkeys were incredibly similar to Old World monkeys makes it seem reasonable to assume they were brought across by the known process of vegetation islands. I hope that monkey explanation helped unlock your misconceptions. Monkey? Unlock? You know the routine. I make the joke, you cue up the rim shot. Just do it.
But, this is what happens, folks, when you go into fantasy land and when you think that the world created itself from nothing, magically, I might add.
I've lost count on how many times I've said this, but evolution has nothing to do with how the world formed. No matter how the universe came to be, All the evidence that we've collected shows that biodiversity is the result of mutations and the guess and check method of natural selection. Believers in a deity can accept evolution, and just because you don't accept the claims of a deity doesn't mean you have to accept Darwinian evolution either. While a common correlation, it's not a binary choice.